She was so joyous. She was so proud of everything she did. She was so happy, and I brought her up to be truthful and honest and caring. And that's the real Jemma. She's a wonderful person.
I don't know what happened in her life. I don't know where the turning point was. I don't know what contributed to it, but there was something in her, a very evil part of her, that just wanted to kill someone. I think Jemma just had a thirst to kill.
Jemma Lilley wasn't like other girls her age. For as long as anyone can remember, she fantasized about torture and murder.
She told me that she wanted to kill someone and that the feeling that she had was getting stronger and stronger.
And those murderous feelings led her to a defenseless victim.
He was a chirpy, bubbly kid.
A vulnerable teenager from Perth. Tonight, the disturbing journey of a serial killer in the making.
Come to pray.
From her obsession with fictional villains...
And I'm gonna kill you.
...to the sickening murder room she secretly built for the killing spree she hoped would make world headlines.
Her life was about death and murder of others, with a hope that she gets notoriety from it.
She saw it as a destiny.
She certainly saw herself as an infamous serial killer.
Jemma Lilley arrived in Australia when she was 18, but her troubling behaviour first surfaced when she was growing up here in Stamford, England, an affluent British village 2 hours' drive from London. Her early childhood wasn't anything out of the ordinary, until her mother had a mental breakdown and joined a spiritual cult.
It's where you give up all your possessions and give all your money to these cult leaders, which Jemma's mother did, and if you said anything against it, then you got reprisals. I was attacked, the children were attacked. And
What do you mean attacked?
I've had things thrown at me, kicked, punched. The children have had the same. They've been beaten, locked in the bedroom for days. They've had to soil themselves in the bedroom, nothing to eat. I tried for 2 years to try and combat it, so we ended up separating.
From a young age, Jemma developed an unusual obsession with extreme violence.
She was just 15 when she started writing this book called Playzone. It's about a brutal killer who tortures his victims. She called him SOS. The writing in here is so graphic that it horrified the teachers at her school, but the character would go on to dominate her life. She had his name tattooed on her body, and she signed her name SOS. When she was angry, she would tell people, SOS is coming out.
Jemma's father encouraged her writing, believing she was simply being a creative young woman.
I've read some of it, and it's not for me. It's not for a lot of people.
It's a difficult read.
It's a little bit too graphic for me and some of my friends. A lot of people thought she had a mental problem.
It's your 16-year-old daughter, your teenage daughter,
Yes.
and she's got an obsession with killers and movies about killers. That doesn't concern you?
No.
You're a father.
Yes.
Could it be you're just in denial?
No, because if Jemma had admitted it to me, then I would have supported her through wherever she wanted. And if she needed help mentally or psychologically, I would help her get it.
In 2009, when Jemma was 18, she left England and her family to begin a new life in Australia. She got a job at a supermarket in Perth. Among her co-workers was Bobby Lee McGregor.
What was she like? What were your first impressions of her?
I liked her. She was quick-witted and she was funny and she was very likable.
When did you start to notice sort of strange things about her?
Probably around 4 or 5 months after we'd initially met. She told me that she was writing a book And I read it, and it was about a serial killer who had a cult following and who liked to torture their victims to death. And I just thought that, you know, she was imaginative and living in a fantasy world, I guess, and had a creative imagination.
And when Jemma proudly showed Bobby Lee her collection of butcher's knives, she wasn't alarmed.
She showed me how sharp they were, and she had them in the black pouch. And she showed me how sharp the knife was by shaving her arm hairs with it.
Can you show me what you did?
Look how sharp it is. And she was actually really quite fascinated at how sharp this knife was. Just, yep, shaved her arm hairs off with the knife.
Come to Freddy.
Jemma was obsessed with knives and with movie villains like Freddy Krueger.
I'm here.
She was a big fan of horror movies and a regular customer at a video store managed by Angela McKibben.
I thought she was a bit of an emo. She always wore black. She had lots of tattoos. She rode a motorbike. She was a bit weird, really. She was not a girly girl at all.
What do you talk about?
Movies. She liked horror movies, and that's the only genre she would rent.
The only movies she would rent were about killers.
Yeah.
Jemma wanted to stay in Australia, and to get a permanent residency visa, she convinced a friend's brother, Gordon Galbraith, to marry her. Jemma's father, Richard, flew out for the ceremony. He dressed as Freddy Krueger. Jemma dressed as a TV serial killer, Dexter.
So it was a sham marriage. She told you that?
Yes. It was just so she could stay in Australia.
And she fooled everyone, she thought.
Well, she thought she'd fooled immigration.
Jemma moved in with Gordon and gave him the nickname Gacy, after the notorious American serial killer, John Wayne Gacy.
Why'd she call him that?
I think because he looked like him. There was a resemblance.
And she liked that?
Yeah.
The sham marriage that won Jemma permanent residency ended unexpectedly when Gordon was killed in a car accident. Even before the accident, friends had noticed a disturbing change in Jemma.
When did you start to notice the dark thoughts, the dark persona that she had?
When she started talking about her wanting to kill someone.
What did she say to you?
She told me that she wanted to kill someone and that the feeling that she had was getting stronger and stronger. She didn't know if she could control it for much longer, and that she wanted to kill someone before she was 25. And I said, well, it's pretty hard to kill somebody, and it's even harder to get rid of a body. And she said, oh no, that's not hard to do.
Jemma Lilley was fascinated with the macabre. She'd written a novel about a serial killer. She was obsessed with horror movies. And now, at the age of 24, Jemma was telling friends she wanted to murder someone before her next birthday.
Jemma had a plan to kill before she was 25. What does that say to you about her?
She plans what her future's going to be, and her future is to go and kill people.
Forensic psychologist Brad Jones says Jemma was also driven by a desire to be infamous.
She has a belief that she's a professional in what she does, in that pursuing of her goals of death and murder of others, with a hope that she gets notoriety from it.
Jemma spoke of an urge. What did she mean by that?
That she needed to see the blood, that she needed to see someone die, that she, having the control, the ultimate power to end somebody's life.
Jemma wanted a partner in her murder plan. She enlisted mother of three, Trudi Lenon.
Trudi was quite simply just an object for Jemma to achieve the things that she desired at that time.
And what Jemma desired now was a victim. Trudi introduced her to one of her son's friends, 18-year-old Aaron Pajich Sweetman.
He had a smile with his eyes, blue and sparkly. Even if he wasn't smiling with his face, you could see the smile in his eyes.
What was different about him?
His Asperger's. He'd make friends with anyone and didn't see the bad in anyone, just how he could be their friend.
Just trusting
Yeah.
people.
At school, Aaron was bullied and struggled to make friends. But he found one in his teacher, Megan Wiasa.
Yeah, I took him under my wing, yeah. Teachers do that in every school, every class. There's always that one, you know, like the wounded bird in the nest that you have to try and protect that little bit more than the others. And he was my little wounded bird.
And to Aaron, Miss Wiasa was more than just a teacher.
He came running in with his birthday invitation. Miss Wiasa, can you come to my birthday? And he handed me the invitation that he'd handwritten. And I said, Aaron, I'm your teacher, love. I can't go. I'm really sorry. And it broke my heart. And he just looked at me with his blue eyes and said, Miss Wiasa, you're not my teacher, you're my friend. And I said, all right, Aaron, I'll go. And I just caved in.
While Aaron's Asperger's-like condition meant he had some learning difficulties, when it came to computers, he was one of Megan's most gifted students.
He had some areas of intelligence that were superior, you know, quirky computer knowledge that most people aren't really interested in or aren't very good at.
Aaron lived on the same street as Trudi. She had known him for 8 years.
What did you think of Trudi back then?
I thought she was okay. She was all right. She didn't have anything about her that said to me, go watch you, you know, you could be bad.
Just seemed normal.
Yeah, just a normal person.
Just the mum of some of Aaron's friends.
Yeah.
But Trudi was not a normal suburban mum. She was under the spell of her new friend, Jemma Lilley, and was willingly helping to plan Aaron's murder.
She got the sense of meeting her dominant person's needs and desires, and then as a result, Jemma likes her that much more.
She wanted to please Jemma.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment, that she wanted to please Jemma, certainly.
In early June 2016, Jemma texted Trudi, I feel as though I cannot rest until the blood or flesh of a screaming victim is gushing out and pooling on the floor, until all the roads and streets are stained with red. Trudi replied, it is definitely time. I am ready, you are ready. To get ready for the murder, they went to a hardware store several times, buying all they needed to dispose of a body. They tested a small amount of hydrochloric acid to see if it would dissolve meat.
The plan, I think, was then to dispose of his body through some hydrochloric acid in a barrel at the back of the house that they had, you know, set up, ready.
They practiced before with bits of meat in the barrel.
Sorry, it's really hard to even think that they planned to cut him up into small pieces.
The test on the meat worked, and on June 12, 2016, Jemma and Trudi can be seen on CCTV footage buying 100 litres of the powerful acid, enough to make a body disappear. The next morning, after Trudi dropped her kids at school, she called Aaron, inviting him to her home to install software on a computer. They arranged to meet at a shopping centre. That's Jemma in the black shirt. And there's Aaron holding an iPad. Soon after this image was taken, he got into the car with Jemma and Trudi.
One of the most tragic things about this case is that when Aaron came to this shopping centre and got into his killer's car, he did it willingly. He knew Trudi, and he trusted her.
Yeah, he would have trusted Trudi just like she was a family member.
Aaron was driven to Jemma's house. He was given a cup of coffee, and as he sat at the computer, Jemma and Trudi moved in for the kill. In this home in the Perth suburb of Aurelia, 18-year-old Aaron Pajich Sweetman was having a coffee. He'd been invited over by single mum Trudi Lenon to install gaming software on her son's computer. But Trudi and her friend Jemma Lilley had other motives.
Trudi would have known that he wouldn't have questioned the arrangement. He was an easy target. They picked him. They picked him as an easy target.
For weeks, Jemma and Trudi had been meticulously planning to kill someone. It was Gemma's goal to take a life before she turned 25.
And this is where it was going to happen. They didn't just want to kill people, they wanted them to suffer. This was going to be their torture room.
They'd covered the walls with blue tarpaulins. There was a trolley, a towel, and a cabinet.
They did have a room that was tiled and set up. And that was obviously to make sure that if there was any mess, that it could be contained.
They also had knives, a bone saw, bleach, a large plastic tub, and 100 litres of acid, enough to dissolve a body. While Aaron was starting to work on the computer, Trudi went outside to lock the back gate and prevent his escape. A home security camera captures Trudi returning. Just as she enters the house, she pulls out a large carving knife.
Trudi had been known to his family and him for the past 8 years. Aaron had met her sons. He was the typical naive, trusting young man, somewhat probably childlike. And at some stage in the house, things would have turned bad, and they would have turned bad relatively quickly.
When would he have got a sense that something was wrong?
He probably didn't realise until it was well and truly too late, unfortunately.
As Aaron was installing the software, either Jemma or Trudi crept up from behind him with a wire garrote.
He would not have known he was in danger until the second she put that thing around his neck. Until physically she imposed herself on him, he wouldn't have sensed that danger. He tried to bite her off, and then at some point the garrote has broken.
The murder wasn't going as planned.
I thought, that poor bugger. This wasn't a quick death. He tried to fight off. He tried to bite her. That broke my heart.
But Aaron was overpowered. He was stabbed 3 times in the neck and chest. 2 of those wounds were fatal. The women moved the body, most likely into the torture room to hide it from Trudi's children who were returning home from school. The plan to dissolve the body in acid was abandoned.
They came up with plan B, which was to go and get some concrete, and they were going to bury him.
In the dark of night, they came here to the backyard, dug a shallow grave, buried Aaron's body, and then covered him with tiles and concrete.
It took them several days. This is what the freshly tiled gravesite looked like after they'd finished. With no word from him, Aaron's parents began to worry.
What goes through your mind?
I suppose the obvious, something is wrong. So I rang his phone straight away, went to Message Bank.
How unusual was that he had his phone off?
Never. Wouldn't happen.
Aaron is 18. He suffers Asperger's syndrome. Aaron hasn't been seen since Monday.
The police were called and appealed for help from the public.
The last known sighting of Aaron was outside Rockingham City Shopping Centre on Monday morning.
Meanwhile, Jemma and Trudi were basking in a sick euphoria, believing they'd committed the perfect murder. Jemma texted Trudi, "I'm seeing things I haven't seen before, and feeling things I haven't felt before." Trudi replied, "You're welcome." Jemma's need to boast about what she'd done was so overwhelming, that 5 days after the murder, she bragged about it to one of her male workmates at the supermarket.
She told him that she'd finally done it, and he said to her, "What do you mean, you done what?" She said that she'd killed somebody. She told him that she had come up from behind and put a garrote around his throat, but their plans didn't go the way that they'd planned it. So she had to get Trudi to hold Aaron down while she stabbed him.
The workmate was so horrified he called the police. They tracked Aaron's phone records, which revealed his last known call was from Trudi Lenon, who was living with Jemma Lilley. When police visited the house, Jemma taunted them by pointing out her recent handiwork, the amateurish tiling job in the backyard.
She probably felt that she would never be caught, and showing the police where the wet cement was simply, in her mind, part of her confidence of tricking the police and being that much more confident and that much more intelligent than what she believed the police were.
And she was wrong.
Significantly so.
The next day, police returned to Jemma and Trudi's house with a forensic team. Under the tiles, they discovered Aaron's body. It was covered in a drop sheet. His head was wrapped in plastic.
11:30 at night, you open the door, two
Yes.
police officers are there.
Yes.
You know what they're going to tell you.
Yes. Yep. The one thing you never want to hear.
11:30 at night, came to the house to tell us, can we come in and sit down? We've got news and it's not good. And then they said, right now, whilst we're sitting here talking to you, Aaron's body's being exhumed out of the ground.
Did they tell you what had happened to him?
They said that the women had a sick, morbid obsession with killing, and that there was evidence throughout the house on the walls and stuff that they were sick.
The next day, Jemma Lilley and Trudi Lenon were charged with Aaron's murder. Under arrest and under pressure, the two killers were about to turn on each other. The evidence against Jemma Lilley and Trudi Lenon was overwhelming. The body of Aaron Pajich Sweetman was discovered in a shallow grave in the backyard of a house they shared. Inside, a torture room, a collection of weapons, and bloodstains on the carpet and a towel. They'd murdered Aaron together, but in court, they blamed each other. Jemma claimed she went to sleep in another room, and the last time she saw Aaron alive was in this room with Trudi. She says when she got up in the morning, Aaron's bag was still here, but he was missing. And so too was a piece of carpet, roughly the size of a body. Trudi told police she had nothing to do with Aaron's murder, but later admitted to helping Jemma bury the body.
They both blamed each other.
They did, yeah.
What do you believe?
I believe that they both played a very significant role in it. If Trudi hadn't have lured Aaron to the property, then it never would have happened.
Jemma's father, Richard Lilley, flew out for the trial with one question for his daughter.
Did you ask her, did you do it?
Yes. And she said no. 100% I did not. And with the emotion in her eyes, I believe her. I said, whatever happened, we'll get through this. And if you've played any part, bring it out now and deal with it. And she swore to me that she did not play any part, and there was never any. She said, you will not find any evidence against me. No
There was a
DNA.
body in her backyard.
There was, yes, which is horrendous.
You don't believe your daughter's a killer?
No, absolutely not. She hasn't got a bad bone in her body.
During a 5-week trial, the jury was shown a series of graphic and incriminating crime scene photos, linking the murder to the women.
One of the most damning pieces of evidence came from the killers themselves. A chilling video caught by their own security camera right over there.
It was the video of Trudi entering the house with a large knife, the likely murder weapon, taken moments before Aaron was murdered.
Throughout the trial, the court heard gruesome details about Aaron's murder and also about the bizarre relationship between Jemma and Trudi.
Jemma was the dominant partner of the two. She was the leader or the director, if that makes sense, and Trudi was the submissive who would do, no doubt, probably to a certain degree, what was required of her.
So it wasn't about sex, it was about power.
More likely about power. Whilst I would not be able to categorically say whether or not they were involved intimately together, certainly it would appear as though Trudi was just another object for Jemma to achieve her desired goals.
And those goals didn't end with one murder.
There was a suggestion that Aaron was going to be the first of many victims.
Yep.
Do you believe that?
I do believe that. Yeah.
What did she tell you?
She had told me that retarded people don't deserve to live because they're a waste of space on Earth.
What does she mean by that?
She said that they just waste space in the world for normal people. She told me that old people don't deserve to live either because they've had their time on Earth.
Do you think police stopped a serial killer?
It's unlikely that she would have stopped until she was stopped by police or some other factor.
A jury took less than 3 hours to find Jemma and Trudi guilty of murder.
The minimum term for each of you must necessarily be a long one. Stand up, each of you.
With that, Judge Stephen Hall sentenced Jemma Lilley and Trudi Lenon to one of the longest jail terms in WA history.
You are sentenced to imprisonment for life. I order that you are to serve 28 years before being eligible for parole.
You find it hard to say the names, don't you?
I do, because they're solely accountable to my son's death.
What should happen to them?
I think they should suffer the indignities of old age and live a long life in jail.
The verdict has left Aaron's stepmom, Veronica, with more questions than answers.
If you could ask Trudi anything, what would you ask her?
Why? Why? Not just why Aaron, why anybody? Why would you go fetch someone that you've known for so many years, for someone sick of whatever fantasy of wanting to kill? Why?
And Jemma?
Well, I don't have anything to say to her. She's just so sick, she's not even worth the words. She's a disgrace. Can't even count her as human.
Jemma has lodged an appeal against her murder conviction. Her father still refuses to believe his daughter is a killer.
You believe she's innocent?
Yes, 100%.
Could you not just be lying to you?
No. No.
Why not?
No. I know my Jemma. I looked in her eyes and she seemed to think telling the truth would see her all right. In my eyes, it's a setup from start to finish.
Aaron's life was celebrated with a candlelight memorial. Hundreds turned up.
How should Aaron be remembered?
As a very fun-loving, very, very good boy.
Oh, there were people everywhere. And I remember looking around and I thought, Aaron had more friends in death than he did in life. And it shouldn't be like that, you know? And then I thought, wherever he is, heaven or otherwise, he'd be looking down thinking, wow, look at all my friends now. go and fly with all the popular kids now. And now he's free to be as popular as he likes. Yeah.